So it's 5:30. Dr. Hill is still marching around. So it's 5:30, and we are going to call the meeting to order. Everyone here? Seems like it's been a while. Hello, everyone. All right, so we will have our Pledge of Allegiance, and Dr. Hill, you're up. So can you lead us? Thank you. All right, we will now move to 1.3, approval of the agenda. Been moved. It's been moved in second. All in favor? Right? Any opposes or abstentions? All right, motion carried. We will now go to 1.4, inspirational message by Dr. Scott Wyatt.
Well, thank you, Madam President. I almost said Vice President, but I caught myself right there. So appreciate the opportunity and good evening, everyone. It's great to see everyone and Happy New Year. I'll say that as well, since it's New Year, a new opportunity. And I wanted to just read a quick quote. It's on change, and it's also by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., since his birthday is this month, and as he shared about on the same day as my birthday, which is always an honor. So it's something that we are experiencing as a district, as we know. It's no secret. So I just want to talk a little bit about that, and then just a little bit about leadership. And quick quote, so stick with me. And this is again by Dr. Martin Luther King. It says, "The time is always right to do the right thing. I cannot do great things. I can do small things in a great way. Change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitable." Boy, I got tongue twister. Gosh darn, excuse me. Inevitable.
Inevitable. Inevitable?
Inevitability. There we go.
Ability, yeah.
I've been sick, so excuse me. But comes through continuous struggle. And, when I think about just us as a city and a district, and even my 4 years on the board, I've seen us have a lot of great successes, but successes do not come without hard work and without challenges and struggles. And we've seen quite a bit of that. And, but what's gotten us through that is great leadership. When I think about great leadership, obviously I've always said it begins and starts with leadership, and it starts at the top. And at the top is Dr. Marsden and what he exudes in regards to characteristics of leadership. And I just want to talk about a few of those things and what's gotten us through all these changes and struggles we've had. And I start with moral fiber, having a moral foundation. And I know that Dr. Marsden comes with that. And I remember when he was sworn in as our superintendent, and also the prayers and blessings that came along with that, and I really appreciate that. Obviously, dedication, loyalty, honor, integrity, capacity, and most importantly, love. And those are all things that I've observed with Dr. Marsden, and not just him, but our executive cabinet and our school board. And I know as a district, when we look at change, and this is going to be great change, sometimes it brings on a thought of uncertainty. But what I do know, and what I'm very certain of, is the leadership that's been established here, the leadership on this board, the direction that we're going, and the hope that we have for our future. So, Dr. Marsden, just want to say thank you to you. I had the opportunity, probably one of the first of many, and I wasn't there when the announcement was made to our leadership group and administration, but boy, I know you had a standing ovation, and I just want I appreciate you. The change that you've brought us through in all the years that you've been here has been phenomenal. And I know that the change that will continue because of the foundation that you've set is going to continue to go in the right direction.
Thank you very much, Dr. White. Appreciate that comment.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. White. And we're going to go to item 2.1, which is our resolution in recognition of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I'm going to ask you, are you okay? Can you go ahead and read the resolution? I think it just goes along with your inspiration.
All righty, well, thank you again, Madam President, and I really do appreciate that. Be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the following resolution. Whereas the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born January 15th, 1929, and dedicated his life to the pursuit of equality for all, and Dr. King delivered the most famous of his speeches, I Have a Dream, on August 28th, 1963. And whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. paid the ultimate sacrifice when he was assassinated on April 4th, 1968, and to remember the life, work, and dream of Dr. King, a national holiday was first observed on January 20th, 1986. Therefore, it be resolved that the Board of Education of the San Bernardino City Unified School District hereby encourages all the schools of the district to take this opportunity to express their heartfelt appreciation for Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and to honor his legacy as a man of determination and dignity. So move.
Been moved in second. Any opposed or abstentions? All right, so call for the vote. Did you all say yes? All in favor? Aye. All right. Oh, okay, we're doing something different. So it should pop up. I don't see it there. And I went to the training. Supposed to pop up. It'd be a little sign. Okay. All right, let's, it didn't pop up this time. Okay, ready? Okay, we'll start at the end. You want to do it individually or you want to all do it together?
I say aye.
Motion,
So
okay.
Abigail, aye.
Aye.
I say aye.
Aye. Mike?
I said aye.
Okay, great. Okay, all right. No opposes or extensions. All right, so moved. We will now go to 3.1, public comments. Dr. Marsden, are there any?
No, Madam President, no public comments on closed session topics.
No, okay. We will adjourn to closed session, so we will see you all shortly. All right, great. Thank you all so much for your patience. We have returned, and we are going to continue to move forward on our agenda. We're at item 4.1, HR 19-2010. Be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts and approves the notice of recommendation for disciplinary action and statement of charges to dismiss the following classified employee from his or her employment with the district, HR classified 19-20-10.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any nay or oppose or abstentions?
Okay, go ahead.
That's right. It didn't click, but you're gonna, there it is. It's right in the middle of your page. You see it?
In my page, it actually logged me out, so hold on.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I see it.
Okay.
Please bear with us. We are learning up here. Mine didn't take either. I pressed it. Did you get mine? No, yes. Got us? Excellent. Okay, we're going to have to get used to that. That's awesome. It's up there somewhere, they said.
Does it show the results anywhere?
For the public,
It says motion approved.
Never did.
Let's see.
it doesn't say the votes, by our votes, like for instance,
I think it'll be on the minutes.
if those in the audience wants to see how we voted. but
Before you
okay.
could see who voted and what.
All right, we're going to get this together for you all, trust us. All right, so I am now moving to, doesn't have an item, but our student board member comments, correct? Student board members. So we have one? Just one today.
Well, since we've been on break, there's not much that's been happening. But I do want to express my gratitude for the opportunity to have gone to the event in San Diego. And I was able to learn a lot so that I can further help with this position when we start school again.
Good job. Well, welcome back and Happy New Year to you.
Can I ask you a question? Ms. Castro, what's the one main thing you got out of the San Diego conference?
To connect with everyone, because it's harder when it's one student and the three of us represent all of them. So which is why the three of us had came up with the idea to do visits to the other schools as well, like elementary schools and middle schools, to see what's going on and try to gather information and work on things with that.
Great, thank you.
Excellent.
And based on that experience, what are you learning?
That it's important to make connections with everyone because there's many different perspectives from everyone around. So it's a really good thing to learn about other people and to expose yourself and learn more about the different perspectives because you don't really realize what you can learn because you're like in your own bubble.
And I wonder, once you have those multiple perspectives, how that impacts you in terms of recommending policy and making those decisions that affect, the perspectives that you have heard.
It doesn't narrow it down, but you get a better idea of what these decisions can do as a whole because you know the different perspectives.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to move to our public comments. We are in our new revised facility, so our timer is going to be up to the left. Okay. All right. Okay, public comments is a time during the agenda when the Board of Education is prepared to receive comments from members of the public on any matter within the board's jurisdiction. The public may address the board on any relevant matter, including but not limited to specific items on the agenda, policies, regulation, and procedures of the district's comments on programs, services, or operations of the district, fiscal matters of the district, or other matters of concern to the board in its official capacity. This is the only time on the agenda that the public will have an opportunity to address the board on items not on the agenda. Leave your requests in the box provided, and when recognized, step to the podium, give your full name, and limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes. If more than 6 people wish to speak on one topic, only 30 minutes total will be allotted. The board may not have complete information available to answer questions and may refer specific concerns to the superintendent for attention. The board's request that any person wishing to make complaints against district employees file the appropriate complaint form prior to this meeting. Speakers are cautioned that under California law, no person is immune from liability for making intentionally false or defamatory comments regarding any person simply because these comments are made at a public meeting. Dr. Marsden?
Thank you, Madam President. The board does welcome our first 3 speakers tonight, and they are students. We'll ask you to organize yourselves as you see fit. We have Guadalupe Dolan, Angel Orozco, Sandy Valdez, and they'd like to speak on the topic of students for good air quality. So welcome and good evening. Please approach the podium. And you can make your comments to the board. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Good afternoon. My name is Good evening, Superintendent Marston and members of the board. My name is Guadalupe Dolan. I'm a freshman at Pacific High School, and I'm a student organizer with ICUC. We are here tonight to share with you all an action that we held back in September where board member Medina and board president Rogers attended. And we wanted to thank them for coming out. We're here to give a report back on what happened in our action so that the rest of the school board can be informed. As you know, climate change is a huge issue at the moment, and young people like myself are trying to create a change. We decided to join the millions of young people on September 20th for the global climate strike. We created a petition and gathered signatures from young people across our high schools who care about these issues. This petition reads, "We, as students of SBCUSD who live at the front line of environmental degradation, urge the members of the school board to prioritize the well-being of current and future generations of students. It is crucial for the school board to be educated on the scientific research that shows the dangers of excessive carbon dioxide emissions and how centering the interests of big corporations over the community's health feeds into a cycle of capitalist exploitation of marginalized communities. San Bernardino sits as the county with the worst ozone pollution nationally. The school board must ally themselves with the students they represent and take immediate action to ensure that students are not exposed to indoor or outdoor air that threatens their health while at school. School board members should also ensure we are being prepared for the quality of life we and our families deserve, which goes beyond providing us with temporary warehouse jobs that come at the expense of our physical health." In a day and a half, we gathered 2,500 signatures from students in our district. So we are here to represent all the students who signed the petition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Sandy Valdez. I'm a senior at Arroyo Valley High School, and I'm a student organizer with ICUC. After our action on the 20th, we decided to continue the momentum we had with our peers, and we decided to join the Fridays for Future movement going on all over the world. What our Fridays for Future consists of is wearing the shirt I am currently wearing, using Amazon as an example of companies that add to the pollution and aren't necessarily finding a way to fix it. Students design the shirt and we wear it every Friday to school. Approximately 70 students across the district are participating. Our main goal is to educate our other students about this issue and create awareness about how others can get involved and become leaders on campuses. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Angel Orozco, and I'm a freshman at San Antonio High School. During our action on September 20th, we shared a report of what we learned about how climate change is impacting our communities. One way is through bad air quality here in San Bernardino. We know San Bernardino County has one of the worst ozone pollutions in the nation. In the last month, we have heard multiple people ask us why we're complaining about our air quality if it was worse in the 1980s. Since then, we have taken steps to make it better, but we are slipping and taking steps back and returning to bad air quality. Because of this, we have came up with several recommendations to address part of the issue, which are the following. Request SBCUSD district staff to contact CARB, the California Air Resource Board, and engage our district actively in work that they're doing to better our air quality. Create a rigorous air quality wellness policy for our school district. Work with ICUC students ICUC student leaders to organize a special school board meeting within the next 90 days to represent district research and proposal for actions that will include an estimate of the cost for the district for missed attendance and how much is attributable to air quality. A report on funds that are received by SBCUSD, by Amazon, and other contributors to air pollution in our city, and how these funds are being used or not to mitigate the impact of air pollution on our school communities. A report back to us on the steps the district is making to reduce exposure in our schools, including the development of air quality wellness policies, collaboration with CARB, to implement the Community Air Protection Program, ways that address issues we face in our schools. Tonight, as Students for Change, we would like to ask President Rogers and Vice President Dr. Wyatt to consider adding an item to the board agenda on open discussion research recommendations within the next 30 days. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Roscoe, thank you very much. Ms. Valdez and Ms. Dolan, thank you for coming tonight. Sincerely appreciated. Appreciate your hard work, and the board will certainly consider your request. Next, for public comments tonight is Ms. Tammy Fort on the topic of invitation from SOAR Academy. Oh, I apologize.
I wanted to commend you for your work and your advocacy because since I've been on the board also, I have championed, or most of us have also championed, looking into the air quality, especially where a lot of by the railroad and the trucking and so forth, all the emissions from the trucks and gas leaks and so forth. Loma Linda has done studies in terms of air quality and also asthma in our community. And I had just asked Dr. Bettis to provide us with how many kids in our district have asthma. And in our board reports, just on Aries, and there may be other students that we don't know of, 1,737 children have asthma in our district. Those are just the ones reported in Aries. There may be others. And so the issue that you bring is very, very important because our health, and we have a strategic planning strategy as well, a pillar on health and well-being. And I think that dovetails right into where we want to go in terms of looking at that. Dr. Marsden, I don't know how fast we can come up with what they requested, but I don't, what do you think?
Yeah, appreciate that, Dr. Flores. I'll turn that over to
Yes,
our
they had
president.
shared with me, and I was so appreciative for them to come. Abigail and I have both attended the session that they had, and so tonight was an informative for all of the board to kind of get up to date so that they can hear it, and then from there we will work on the next steps together as a board.
And I do want to mention that one of the comments of the youth is that regarding the warehouses and the type of jobs that we're receiving. And one thing is that in our school district, we have to really look at those type of career pathways that we're, unfortunately, there are certain jobs that are not the best environment when you look at diesel trucks and so forth. So I really do want to also look at, once they come back, we'll look at what we can do regarding the type of career pathways that are impacting our youth and especially in their future.
Mr. Tillman?
Yeah, and I hope that we don't lose sight of the fact that the air filtration system we put at some of our schools was driven by the studies that were done that showed there was plumes of bad air sitting over certain schools, and that's why that air infiltration system was put in at those schools. And because of the expansion of logistics systems and more trucking and more air flight, we might want to look at having other studies done to look at where the air is, and maybe we can expand where we're putting those air filtration systems at other schools. Just a thought when we agendize, maybe we can talk about that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Board. Board, again, we welcome Ms. Tammy Fort to speak on the topic of invitation from SOAR Charter Academy. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening. Nice to see everyone again. We're here today with an invitation to our upcoming Leadership Day. If you weren't aware, for 3 years, our SOAR students have been involved in a Leader in Me program, which is based on Stephen Covey's book of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The Leader in Me program is designed for students in all grades, all the way down to kindergarten, to develop leadership skills inside and outside of the classroom and school environment. Last June, SOAR received the honor of being named a Lighthouse School. And a Lighthouse School is a model school of exceptional leaders. And there are only just over 500 schools worldwide with that title, so we're very proud. This will be,
Congratulations.
thank you. This will be our third annual Leadership Day, and it is scheduled for Thursday, February 6th from 9:30 to 11:30. And it's just a short, basic, the students show off their unique leadership talents. Some of them have leadership in the arts, some of them leadership in writing and art itself, and different types of leadership things that will go on. Some of them will write speeches, and it's all student-run. That's the basis of the Leader in Me program, is anything that a student can do, and adults should step back and let that student take leadership and ownership of that project or activity that's taking place. So we would love to see some of you there. And should I bring you the invitations or over here? Right
Madam
there?
to our board secretary, thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you so
Appreciate
much,
the
and we hope
invite,
to see you
and
there.
congratulations on that distinction.
Oh,
That's a
great, thank
huge
you.
recognition.
Have a great evening.
Thank you. Board now welcomes Deputy Greg Jones, Sheriff's discussion around the Sheriff's Safe and Return and Human Trafficking. Thank you, Deputy Jones, and welcome. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm sorry, I'm tall. Good evening, Board and Superintendent. I thank you for your time. I'm here just to give you some information. It's being disseminated at this time. Two things. One is the Safe Return Program for adults and juveniles with special needs. Our department established a registry database for all juveniles and adults with special needs ranging from Down syndrome, autism, Alzheimer's, and dementia. It is a free registry database to the entire public. The website itself and the registry database is held by the law enforcement, our department. It's a very secure and private registry. It's used in a sense where if somebody wanders off, goes missing, elopes, when we come across that individual, we will have the ability to look and find that person's family, their loved one. It will decrease the negative contacts. So if this certain individual's having a bad day or an episode, our officers are going to be able to be prepared to handle that situation. It will not, hopefully it will not result in a negative where somebody gets hurt, being the individual or the law enforcement. The families put into the information in there, what sets the person off, what calms them down, where they like to wander to, trigger words, things that will enhance a positive contact with this individual. I cannot stress enough, we've used this registry database in the high desert to find, to locate, and to return individuals. On our website, the sheriff's website, under programs, you will find what it is about under Safe Return. There is a video. It's about a 6-minute. The family has given me permission. Lydia Grayson, she's 12 years old at the time. This just happened November of 2017. She's 12, severely autistic. She lives in Rancho, and she opened up the window, kicked out the screen, and she was off. She was off to Walmart. She actually took a chair, put the chairs next to a brick wall, threw another chair over on the other side of the wall so she wouldn't get hurt, and jumped the fence, and she was off to Walmart. The problem was about 20, 30 minutes later, right in the middle of Haven and I forget the cross street, she forgot where she was going. She had an emergency. She was crying, screaming. The individuals in Rancho Cucamonga, about 7 to 8 individuals called 911 because they thought that she was an individual, and she's a tall young lady. They thought that she was an adult. They said there's an adult female in the middle of the intersection screaming, and we think she's on drugs, because they did not recognize the special needs of Lydia. The officer showed up, and within an hour, we were able to return her back to her family. When the deputies called her family, they thought that she was upstairs asleep. This was that they put her to bed about 7 o'clock, as per her mom. We came in contact with her about 7:45, 7:50. We were able to get her back to her family by 8:30. I asked her mom, when would you have known? Mom told me, her words, we do bed checks at midnight. Without this program, there's nothing. Lydia is nonverbal. Without this program, we would have spent hours waiting for the mom and dad to report her. Luckily, the residents in Rancho Cucamonga were able to call 911 and recognize she needs help. What I'm trying to get to the board today is our program is utilized in multiple school districts. I've reached out to Chino, Ontario, Rialto, Fontana, hopefully San Bernardino PD is all going to be on board. It's a free register database. So for your special education department, for your families, for your children, please learn as much as you can. I encourage you to learn as much. The second thing I really want to talk about is our human trafficking symposium that is coming up. Unfortunately, the symposium on the 23rd in San Bernardino is full, but 25, 30 minutes away in the high desert, it's open. It's open to the public. It's free. We're going to feed everyone. You simply just have to enroll by going on Eventbrite. Our department alone is a part of a task force. Our department, along with Ontario PD, Redlands PD, the DA's office, Homeland Security, California State Parole, and the FBI, has a human trafficking task force. Between May of 2017 and 2019, approximately 89 felony cases were filed. We've had over 40 convictions of sex traffickers. They have been sentenced to 302 years of prison. These are individuals that are not just stealing anything. These are individuals that are highly aggressive, that goes after our children.
Time.
Thank you. Go ahead and finish your comments. Yeah, if you could just wrap that up.
The one thing I really want to stress is, so far, we have rescued 86 minors. We've rescued 221 victims. In addition to that, 91 call-outs by our task force. This is something that really needs to have more light. If you can, please, spread the word as much as you possibly can. I encourage you to attend. Please. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming and presenting to us. Some of us are already registered, so we will be there in support of the human trafficking event, we know. But we cannot stress them enough, as you said, as those that in the high desert, our partners also need to register as well. So we appreciate you coming, and for the safe returns, because that's something that is spreading throughout the county that is very much needed, and as many presentations as you can get out there and do is needed. I know our organization has done it. Stephanie's in the back shaking her head, but this is important. So thank you for coming tonight, because I know you had a busy schedule. I think there's a Dr. Hill and Dr. Flores.
Thank you, Deputy Jones. I went online yesterday, and I think I sent you an email. Were you able to get me in?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I also just want to add, on the 25th is the case walk, the Coalition
yes.
Against Sexual Exploitation. It is highly important. Human trafficking affects every single individual, regardless of economics, regardless of race, regardless of gender, regardless of sexual orientation. If you believe that you too can be unaffected because your child is a good child, please learn as much as you can. You never want to be awoke by an officer saying, "We just found your daughter or your son." Thank you.
Dr. Flores?
I wanted to ask you, thank you, Deputy Jones. I just wanted to clarify, in these symposiums, you're going to address how we as school district can also, what we need to do also to facilitate identifying and also preventing, correct? Human trafficking or?
Yes. In the symposium in the Valley, we are going to have approximately 6 speakers. It's a limited, it's 75 minutes each. In the high desert, we're going to have 3 facilitators for 5 hours, 75 minutes, or for 75 minutes.
Do you by
each.
any chance also offer these sessions to school districts for our principals, even our police force?
Yes, ma'am. All they have to do is reach out to the Sheriff's Public Affairs, and we have facilitators. I'm one of them, that we can do anywhere from an hour to 2 hour to 4 hour presentations,
And
including
also for
case.
parents?
For parents and students. And they're free of charge.
And what was the name of, where do we contact them?
The Sheriff's Public Affairs?
Sheriff's Public Affairs?
Yes, ma'am.
San Bernardino?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much
Thank you. Thank you.
for your
Um,
work.
Deputy Jones, I just want to say thank you for coming in. I know we spoke a little bit about this, and wow, it's just seeing this brochure, I was hoping maybe we could get a case of these for the Gangs and Drugs Task Force.
Yes.
I'll work with Mr. English as well. so we can start working with the CWAs throughout the county, get this as many hands as we can, many special ed directors as we can as well.
Please.
And I know, Stephanie's back there too, Condon, and I know how important this is to her, and just a phenomenal resource from the Sheriff's Department, just outstanding job, and a thank you to you and the team over there, and definitely for the 86 minors that you guys have helped save. So, appreciate your work.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Deputy
you, Board.
Jones for making the effort to be here.
Thank you, sir.
Board, those are all our public comments for tonight.
Great, thank you. We will now move to item 7.1, our San Bernardino Teachers Association. Is there anyone?
No comment?
No? All right, 7.2, California School Employees Association. 7.3, Communication Workers of America.
Comment?
7.4, San Bernardino School Police Officers Association. No comments? Right. Then we will now have our 8.1 Key Performance Indicator, third grade reading, eighth and ninth grade math from our Ed Services team.
Thank you, Madam President. And tonight, Board, you have, as generally you do, this Board, one of your strengths is looking at student achievement, key performance indicators. And tonight, you're going to take a look at our third grade reading and eighth and ninth grade math. So the team will present to you our current performance and our plan to continue to increase outcomes for students. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Mitchell, who will tee up his team.
Thank you, Dr. Marsden. Board, tonight's presentation is focused on two of the board's key performance indicators, third grade reading, and eighth and ninth grade mathematics success. We want to start by thanking the board for pushing this cabinet and staff to provide a regular report to the board on these key performance indicators. Third grade reading and early numeracy is one of the highest predictors of student success in school, and so monitoring this metric is important in gauging the health of our district and instructional systems. Tonight you will hear how our third grade students are doing in reading. Next year we will expand this report to include math after we've implemented an early numeracy assessment. Secondly, the board will review achievement data related to eighth and ninth grade math success, a grade and subject area that has long been considered a gatekeeper to college and career access and opportunity. And so tonight you will see the use of both formative and summative indicators. For third grade reading, we have included data on our DRA results, which is an early literacy formative indicator, alongside the 2019 CAASPP data. For eighth grade and ninth grade math, you will see formative indicators in the form of course grades and summative indicators for eighth grade in the form of the CAASPP mathematics test. As you know, ninth graders are not, we don't administer the CAASPP to ninth graders. Before beginning, on behalf of Dr. Marsden and Cabinet, we want to thank the board for your leadership and direction in requesting this report. This report embodies the following board requests and directions. Number one, you asked us that we incorporate formative data alongside our summative data so that the board has a clear indication of the progress of our students, and so we appreciate that. You'll see that in the report tonight. Number two, you see a deep analysis and monitoring of eighth and ninth grade course grades, which are so important to increase students' access to college and career. So the board has really pushed on that, particularly Ms. Rogers. Also, monitoring of course grades has prompted us to contract with the nation's leading expert in this area, Dr. Douglas Rees, and he has helped our district rethink our approach to grading practices, which we think has had an appreciative effect on our achievement in this area. Lastly, in response to your direction to create robust early literacy initiatives, we have developed a K-12 literacy initiative to improve our capacity to provide effective literacy instruction, as well as create a culture of and a love of reading in the community. So we appreciate the board's leadership in that area through Renaissance, as well as Footsteps to Brilliance that was forwarded by our board. And so with that, I'll be turning it over to our expert staff all of whom have been instrumental in this work. We'll have Anna Applegate, Director of Multilingual Programs. Please note that we've changed the name from EL Department, EL Programs, to Multilingual Programs. We'll have Tasha Dwyzen, Director of Elementary Instruction, Luda Venkatesan, Director of Secondary Instruction. We'd also like to thank Barbara Richardson, who's Director of Accountability and Educational Technology, and her staff for providing the data. And the last voice you'll hear tonight is from one of our principals, Brianna York, who will be talking about the success that she's leading at Davidson Elementary. And so with that, I'll turn it over to the team.
And before you all start, I'm just going to ask the board, it looks like it is in like a three-part kind of harmony. So there's a third grade process that we'll go through, and then the eighth grade. And so I will stop at those intervals and see if there's any questions while we're in those sections, if that's okay with you all. Okay, great.
All right, good evening, Superintendent Marsden, Board President Rogers, Vice President Wyatt, Board and Cabinet. This evening, I will highlight the district data in early literacy. During this presentation, Sudha Venkatesan will highlight the 8th, 9th mathematics CAASPP results and student grades. Anna Applegate will help me.
1 second. Is there any way we can get that on those screens? There you go. Thank you.
And Anna Applegate will help present the third grade literacy as it relates to our English learner programs. In this slide, we have force ranked the state, local, and comparable districts as it relates to grade 3 students who are meeting and exceeding reading standards on the CAASPP. You will see that that SBCUSD is currently at 37.7% of our third grade students meeting or exceeding standards. We are currently 6th out of the 10 comparison districts listed. This next slide shows the percent of grade 3 students meeting or exceeding standards on the CAASPP ELA by race and ethnicity. The asterisk represents students that contain fewer than 11 students that reported as testing. So you'll notice that there have been no gains or drops over the last year for significant groups. This next slide highlights the percent of students who took the grade 3 CAASPP and are meeting and exceeding by program. You'll notice that foster youth shows some increase. At this time, I'd like to ask our Director of Multilingual Programs, Anna Applegate, to specifically address the drop in our RFEP groups.
So I wanted to go ahead and point out, as you know, we've had great success with our RFEPs and CAASPP over the years. But one thing that maybe you may not be aware of is this last year was the highest percentage of special education students that we did reclassify as they hadn't been reclassified in the past. So, and that's something that we're proud of because we reclassified them because those students don't have language issues or language barriers. Their disabilities are really what is keeping them from achieving at higher levels. So it is appropriate to reclassify them. But having said that, we also need to realize that out of the 2,702 students that were reclassified, 382 of them were special ed. So that's going to have a little bit of an effect of your on your scores. Approximately 15% were special ed students. And so when we disaggregated the data, we looked at that being the cause for a drop that we had with our RFEP students. But again, that's the right thing to do. And so we are taking that, but we wanted to explain to you to let you know that that's reflected in this data.
Board, at a previous meeting, you asked that we provide leading indicator assessments that could predict students' performance on state testing. Our district is using the DRA, its equivalent for our English learners is the EDL, to predict student performance on CAASPP in grade 3. In the next slide, I will be presenting the first ever comparison of our local leading indicator assessment predicting our CAASPP scores. But before we look at the comparison, I'd like to give you more information about this assessment. So the DRA, or the Developmental Reading Assessment, is an individually administered test. It measures a child's capabilities in reading. It's a tool to be used by instructors to identify a student's reading level, accuracy, fluency, and comprehension. SBCUSD administers the DRA as a diagnostic test in the fall for all grade 3 students. Teachers can re-administer the assessment throughout the year to monitor student progress. This is as they move through various levels of the DRA. The grade level targets on the DRA developmentally progress throughout the year. It is a balanced literacy approach between reading behaviors and comprehension. There is alignment of DRA with the end-of-year CAASPP ELA scores. Expectation for an increase in the 2020 Grade 3 CAASPP meeting and succeeding is expected based on our DRA scores at this time. This next slide shows our current percentages of students who are at or above grade level on the DRA by race and ethnicity. Currently, 49.5% of our third grade students are at or above grade level. This is a 4.4% increase over the previous year. Particularly, our African American students show a 15.5% increase over the previous year. We believe that these DRA results predicts a potential increase for our 2020 Grade 3 CAASPP scores. We attribute these gains to strong, systematic professional development, which we partner with CORE, in early literacy and targeted goals for our African American student group as defined by our improvement plan for African American students. This next slide shows the DRA for students who are at or above grade level on the DRA by student program group. Each program group is showing gains over the previous year. Specifically, students with disabilities showed a 5.6% growth. Foster group 4.5% and our socioeconomic showed a 4.4% increase. This next slide is the developmental reading assessment as our early indicator of literacy growth. So again, I want to highlight that this is the first time that we are providing a comparison between our DRA assessment and their predictive power over the CAASPP results. Any gain in the DRA has a potential to show gain on the CAASPP scores for third grade. We have seen promising increases in the 2019 fall administration of the DRA for the district overall and the African American student group. We believe that these increases are early indicators for an increase in our CAASPP scores for reading proficiency at grade 3 for these student groups. Together with multilingual programs, we are working to use the information from the DRA to improve learning opportunities in reading for our English learner-only students. As part of our early literacy focus, Educational Services has worked to establish consistency in administration and the use of the DRA to inform our reading instructional practices.
So, okay, I'm going to start at the end and then work our way down. So if,
Yes, really quickly, regarding the DRA, I just wanted to understand a little bit more what you mean by that. So it was said here that there's an alignment of the DRA with the end of the year CAASPP ELA scores, but that's not, so that's through our school district. We're trying to see if we're meeting, is that what, I'm just trying to clarify what that really means.
So it means that it's a predictor. So it's not that it's like an end-all be-all or for sure or definite, that it's a leading indicator into how students will do on that on the state assessment at the end of the year.
Okay. And then when you look at the last, well, that particular slide of 10, page 10, you see a large dip. Are you going to explain later on, imagine, what you're going to do differently in order to make sure that we're addressing this dip?
Yes, we do have next steps in the third part of our presentation.
Okay.
Thank you for the presentation. You know, board, that my expertise is literacy and biliteracy, and I'm a strong advocate of using the DRA, and I want to commend you for doing that. And you can show that it is improving, and it helps teachers to know exactly where the kids are and parents, and also be able to organize the teaching to the potential so that our kids move forward. Given that, I have conducted research, and I would like to get it to you, where we don't, on page 7, we really re-examine the use of the word accuracy and the fluency part of the DRA, because we have found that it keeps the kids in the same level instead of moving them up, because actually we want them to comprehend. So I would like to get you that research. It's reading recovery research, so that you would know that. And it would be very helpful also for our EL learners, because the kids make mixed cues and they don't change the meaning. And when they don't change the meaning, they shouldn't be counted as word accuracy scores. So if they don't meet their word accuracy score, then they're kept at the level when actually they could be moving up in terms of their level. And on page 8, Mrs. Applegate, I would like to ask you, was it 8? No, it was on 8, actually, Tasha, I'd like to ask you about, well, comment first that it's great that our African-American kids are moving so far ahead. It's really positive. I'm concerned about our Hispanic kids, and it may be also because of the accuracy and fluency tests part of the DRA that's keeping them back. So I really want us to look at that recommendation. Page 9, Mrs. Applegate, I think that, or is that where the RFEPs, where are the RFEPs? RFEPs are on page 7, sorry. I think, no, page 8.
On page 9, they're in the center.
Oh, yeah, page 9, I put the wrong page. It would be interesting to see if you disaggregated the special needs kids, took those scores out, just to see where the kids were. Just because if that's the case, I think you would see a very different number. So I highly recommend that. And then on page 9, with our EL kids, you're not making as significant growth as possible. And what we found in our research with EL kids, it was the word accuracy and fluency portion of the DRA that was keeping them back. And it wasn't a true measure of really what their comprehension was. So it'd be interesting to see if you were to, address that. I think you would see a different improvement or development on the kids' part. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Dr. Hill?
Your presentation on the reading section there. Really appreciate it. You did a great job, so thanks to all of you. I just have a couple of questions, and as I took a look at this, I often wonder, who do we test? If a student arrives here from Texas on Monday and testing is Wednesday, is that student a part of the test? And I guess I'm asking that as to the accuracy of, and I know some things out of your hands, if you say we test all students, and we should be testing all students. But I'm just wondering if there's any separation of the ones who just got here, whether it's from Texas or whether it was from, the Philippines or wherever. And I'm asking a question, but I don't want an answer to the question. And the other one is, is there any way we could get information on students in the 3rd grade, the one who've been at the same school consistently, the stay in place ones? Do they score better than the ones who are moving around? I know it's a lot of mobility. But it would also be interesting to know that. And again, I'm not asking you to provide that. You're doing a lot, but I'm just, those are my wannabes. But I just want to say thank you so much for your presentation.
Dr. Hill, we'll be happy to provide that data. That data is actually easy to get, some cohort data, and I think it would add a lot of value to this presentation. Appreciate that request. And also in regards to your first question, there are clear parameters of when kids are tested, and we're happy to provide that information. Where there are clear parameters from the state testing site on when kids are counted in our test cycle, and so I'll be happy to provide that as well.
Dr. Ford, you had,
Yes, I'm sorry, I had one more question. Mrs. Applegate, did you collect any data on our bilingual kids in terms of their DRA scores?
Yes, because we need to keep in mind that we have approximately 3,500 ELs in multilingual programs. So at third grade, they're tested in Spanish reading and in English reading.
The DRA?
The EDL in Spanish,
Oh,
which
the
is
EDL.
the,
Okay,
it
that's right, I
mirrors
meant the DL. EDL is equivalent to the DRA.
DRA, but in Spanish.
Yes. And
So
how
those
did they
scores-
perform?
They scored higher, and so we
How
can
much
get that
higher?
information. I don't have it right off the top of my head, but we can get that to you. And that would be consistent because their instruction and literacy is about 60% of the day in Spanish in our multilingual programs.
So these EL kids that were scored lower are the ones that are not in bilingual programs?
Well, they're all ELs regardless of program.
Okay, but what you're saying is that you have data for our kids that are literate in their first language and learning a second language, and their scores are higher
That's
than
correct.
these?
That's correct.
That are
At
reported?
third grade.
I would be very interested in seeing those. All of us,
Okay.
I think, would, so that we can see what the effects are of, because you only learn to read once, preferably in your first language.
We're happy to provide that data. That's a good
Dr. Wyatt,
request and add a lot of value to this presentation. Thank you, Dr. Flores.
Mr. Gallo?
Yeah, I'm looking at this reclassified rate performance, and it's amazing. I'm just wondering, are we, maybe offering different types of English language arts instruction to our reclassified students? Or do you think they're actually coming in, since they're reclassified, I guess, by the rate? Is that what we're saying here?
These students have met the criteria, which is pretty stringent right now, so they're scoring high pretty much in all areas.
I
So it's
see.
indicative of their overall performance. They score higher in math, language arts.
I mean, it's amazing. Are we doing any differential instruction?
There's more monitoring involved with our reclassified students. The minute they drop, we're catching them and we're providing whatever support they need to be successful.
So then, the question begs, should we be doing that for all of our students?
Yes.
Question. That been a consideration?
Yes, so Mr. Gallo, we agree that there are some scalable activities and services and supports that we're doing for EL students. We were looking at those, replicating those for foster, homeless, African American, special education.
Well, regardless, it looks like they're outperforming by twice of any other category, including the
Absolutely.
average.
And we see that data going through across the board. The board has reflected upon that each time you see it. And so we're aware of that. And to Ms. Applegate's point, the strong progress monitoring, the case management strategies that we use with particular targeted students are working. And so one of the things that ETSA is looking at, one of the things that special ed, foster, we're trying to replicate some of the case management and progress monitoring that our other departments are doing. So that's on our list, and that's what we're doing. So, and again, 50,000 students, limited capacity, but we're learning that where we focus and target students, and even with our work with TSSP schools, where we're finding improvements and acceleration when we target, we're looking at ways to scale those across the board.
Well, it seems like you found one group that's
Absolutely.
obviously
Absolutely.
performing well.
Absolutely.
So
Thank you.
you're sure looking at that. Yeah. Thanks, you guys.
Mr. Tillman?
I'm looking at the numbers, and it looks like when you look at the DRA, at the actual standardized test, about 10, is it gonna score like 10% less? So the hope is that, like, for instance, on page 10 with the African-American students, instead of being at 24%, they'll be closer to like 40% success?
Yes, that's the prediction. But we're saying that when we give the DRA in October,
Right.
that we're looking at the differential from the DRA in October to the CAS test in May. We're seeing that consistent gap, 8 to 10 points. So we're looking at the jump with our African American learners, as well as with the third grade overall. We're anticipating similar growth in CASP in the spring.
When will we get the results back from the CAPS?
But when we administer the CASP in the spring, we typically got them back this year, October.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all. Those are our questions for now.
Good evening, Superintendent Marston, Board President, Ms. Rogers, Vice President Wyatt, Board and Cabinet. This evening, I will highlight the 8-9 mathematics CAST results and student grades in mathematics. In this slide, we have 4th ranked the state, local, and comparable districts as it relates to grade 8 students who are meeting, exceeding math standards on the CASP. Despite the district being at 25.7%, only 2 out of 10 districts outperformed us. They are Riverside and Long Beach. This also highlights how the state of California struggles to improve mathematics performance of our grade 8 students. Our relentless focus on the scope and sequences and grading practices will continue to improve results in years to come. This slide shows grade 8 students meeting exceeding standards on CASP mathematics by race and ethnicity. This slide shows that there are no major gains for any significant student groups. The next slide is students meeting exceeding standards on CASP mathematics by student program group. Again, foster youth and homeless have shown some increase, and other student groups have no major gains. The next slide is grade 8 students earning A, B, or C grades in semester 2 math courses by race and ethnicity. There has been consistent gains across all major student groups. 3 years ago, our board was very concerned about the number of Ds and Fs issued in the secondary schools. The board directed us to address this concern. We embarked deeply into examining the current grading practices that existed in our district. We invited Doug Reeves to help us with the grading practices work. Board, some of you may remember attending the first few meetings with Doug Reeves and our district teachers. During these last 3 years, we have been focusing on providing teachers the opportunity to look at grading as part of a feedback system rather than as a punitive measure. We have taken a 2-pronged approach to this grading system, which includes a cultural shift in thinking about grades and providing the tools necessary for teachers for alternative grading methods in which students have multiple opportunities to show mastery of standards. We believe that our work on improving middle school and high school grading practices is providing teachers with the skills and knowledge to provide better opportunities for learning the rigorous standards in grade 8 and 9 mathematics. We attribute the race in percentages of students earning A, B, or C grades to this work on grading practices and anticipate that we will see a stronger correlation between grades and CAS performance as this work progresses. It's important to note that there is still a misalignment between the CASP meeting exceeding results and the percentage of students earning A, B, or C. The district percentage of meeting exceeding is 25.7% in math, whereas 57% of all student groups have earned A, B, or C grades. The next slide is grade 8 students earning A, B, or C based on student program groups. Again, we see a consistent growth across all the student program groups, except for foster youth. And that concludes grade 8. Should we stop or continue? Because they are very similar between 8 and 9.
It's, yeah, if you, yeah, continue on.
Okay.
My next stop was at your next steps anyway.
Got it. Grade 9 students earning, the next slide is grade 9 students earning A, B, or C grades in semesters 2 math courses by race and ethnicity. Grade 9 course grades follow a similar pattern. There has been a consistent increase in students earning the grades of A, B, or C in mathematics. Specifically, African American students grew by 2.9% and Hispanic students by 2.2%. This will, in fact, have a positive impact on our district's college and career readiness and the A through G completion rates. The next slide is grade 9 students earning A, B, C grades in semester 2 by student program group. Again, this shows the grades, we see increases across the board except for foster youth and homeless. So we end the presentation for this before we continue with the next steps.
Board, I was going to start with you, Mr. Tillman. Do you have anything just as of right now, Mr. Gallo? Okay. Dr. Wyatt? Okay, continue.
So next steps for improving student learning and outcomes. Tasha and I would like to share the next steps.
So our next steps in early literacy are to continue to require consistent adherence to the district scope and sequence, continue culturally relevant professional development through intensive 5-day modules in collaboration with Consortium on Reaching Excellence in Education, or CORE, our multilingual department, and targeted and equity student achievement. Provide and train a resident expert early literacy teacher at each site to support and target early literacy goals at the site. Continue to provide administrative modules to teach the routines and strategies taught in teacher professional development and provide teacher feedback. Continue site support via teacher collaboration and pull-out time. Continue our SBCUSD district literacy initiative with targeted focus on third grade students. And continue to provide supports using resources to build that home and school connection with resources such as Footsteps to Brilliance and Renaissance Mayan.
With respect to grade 8 and 9 mathematics next steps, we continue to require strict adherence to the scope and sequence. We use the CAASPP, continue to use the CAASPP-aligned intervention materials for at-risk students within regular courses. Continue to provide administrative modules, specifically targeting vice principals for supervision and teacher feedback in mathematics. Facilitate professional development for teachers, specifically on differentiation and culturally relevant instructional practices in collaboration with ETSA, Multilingual Department, and UCLA Curtis Center. Specifically, the project that we are working on is to support strategies for the African American students is called Project Soul, and it's titled Get Your A's Up. And continue to integrate an integrated coaching model for mathematics using evidence-based practices that target English learner and African American students. Lastly, continue site support via teacher collaboration and department pull-out time. Continue. At this time, I would like to invite Brianna York, principal of Davidson Elementary, who would share with us the gains her school made and the good work that is happening at her school.
Good evening, President
I'm sure there's gonna be
Rogers,
some good
Vice
stuff.
President Wyatt, Dr. Marsden, board and cabinet members. My name is Brianna York, and I'm the principal at Davidson Elementary School. On behalf of our staff, students, and community, thank you for allowing the time to share some of our successes over the past 24 months and the outcomes of our leading indicators that show that we are on the right track. I am very proud of the team of educators at Davidson. Their hard work and dedication to building a cohesive staff and student learning systems is top-notch. As you can see on PowerPoint slide number 25, I am proud to report that Davidson Elementary third grade students are making steady gains towards all students scoring at or above grade level in the area of reading. School-wide, our third graders have gained nearly 34 percentage points in the past 2 academic school years. Likewise, our African American student group has gained 49 percentage points, and our English learner student group nearly 37 percentage points gained. With the gains we see in Davidson's DRA scores, coupled with other site-based leading indicators, we expect third grade reading proficiency levels to increase when students test CAASPP in the spring. We certainly celebrate these successes year after year, but we also know that our work is not done. Davidson's staff can attribute these gains to an overhaul in data management systems and effective adult learning. In order to share how we arrived at the outcomes we see today, it is important to note that this was years in the making. Upon arriving at Davidson during the 2017-2018 school year, the leadership team and I worked very closely to look at current and past data for both students and adults, so that we know how to proceed with Davidson's instructional plan for both students and adults on campus. Together, we diagnosed problems of practice. We recognized that there was a significant achievement gap among our African American student population in the area of reading. Data also showed this student group had a high number of suspensions, coupled with a school-wide dip in our student sense of belonging. We use the speed of trust behaviors and Steve Zweiback's facilitation methods to have open and honest conversations as to where and why our students were not achieving. Our leadership team, alongside our professional development team, devised a 3-year plan for addressing social emotional learning through professional learning and systems evaluation and change. We committed ourselves to filter all decision-making through our instructional plan and continue to hold each other accountable for laser-like focus. In order to build and align systems that would inform our instruction, we strategically planned 3 12-week professional learning and data management cycles within each school year. During each 12-week cycle, we draw baseline measures for both staff and students through the use of diagnostics and admin walkthrough data, specifically around the area of social emotional learning, culturally relevant pedagogy, and the monitoring of our African American student group. We have streamlined our professional learning by focusing on one skill or concept within the 12-week professional learning cycle using the learn, plan, practice, and refine approach. During each cycle, educators had the opportunity to learn best practices by participating in instructional rounds and lesson studies. Furthermore, each cycle also provides teams with on-site professional data and development around standards alignment and really diving deep into our problems of practice. At the completion of each 12-week cycle, we run diagnostics again to both ensure our work is affecting student outcomes and also to calibrate our plan for the upcoming learning cycle. As we continue to drill down, we asked ourselves this question: what if what we are doing is still not showing success? How do we support staff and students alike? This year, we are working diligently to recalibrate our multi-tiered system of supports. Through our work with the MTSS pilot team and WestEd, this year we're focusing on streamlining our data management to include a more robust and frequent monitoring of student outcomes and setting systems in place to support staff and student in Tier 1 with first good instruction. To conclude, our growth in the area of grade 3 DRA cannot be pinpointed to one instructional strategy, but rather a complete system overhaul and frequent recalibration of systems to ensure that all staff are developing as professionals and staff outcomes are directly impacting the achievement of all students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right.
Good work. Thank you.
We'll start with Mr. Tillman, and we'll come back this way again.
And I know I know how the measurement works. These third graders different than last year's third graders. But can I feel confident that even the fourth graders that were third graders last year, they improved also?
They did, and our leading indicators are showing that as well. Not through the use of DRA, but we use iReady on our campus, and so we frequently monitor them through that diagnostic.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Hill?
Thank you, and please compliment your staff next week on doing a great job. We appreciate the growth that you're showing. I just have two questions, one on page 26, your last page there, with the African Americans. I noticed in 2018 it was 28.6, and then it dropped to
Yes, ma'am.
-0, and the good thing is back up to 77.8. What caused that? I don't know if I want to call it a crisis or what.
There were a couple things happening on site. We did have one teacher that was out for jury duty 3/4 of the school year. It was a long trial. But really, when we look at was the intentionality around looking at our African American students really there? No, probably it wasn't. And so when we look at, are we making sure that our student groups are growing and we're intentionally making sure and progress checking all of our student groups? That's really the work that we're doing now.
Great, thank you. And my other question is for the team. On page 16 with foster youth, we noticed that there was a lot of growth with foster youth over a period of time. And I think last year the graduation rate was significantly high that we're really proud of. But I'm also aware that there was a tutorial service provided to foster youth. And I'm also aware that those funds are no longer there for them. And when that happens, is there an area of funds or money someplace? I'm assuming a lot of this was certainly contributed to the tutoring that they were getting from Valdez Tutorial Services. And I know they were working with all the foster youth, and all the principals I talked to was just really pleased with them. We even, I think Dr. Wyatt, Ms. Rogers and I attended an event for the parents and those foster youth, and they were just so glad to be a part of that. And the parents just had wonderful things about the services the students were getting. But I understand the foster youth funds, are no longer there. So if you could just kind of take a look, and maybe we can pull a penny or a dime from perhaps textbooks, and that's kind of put those services back. If that's the case, I might be giving them credit for something they're not responsible for, but for some reason I got a feeling that they're the reasons that those foster youth did so good.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because foster youth have shown consistent gains, and grades are the work of over a period of time. So with enough supports, the students can actually get their grades up to A's, B's, and C's. I'll definitely work with Angela or Kitties and see what, these are 45 students listed here, and see what is the reason for the drop for this specific student group.
We appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Dr. Flores?
Yes, Principal York, thank you for your presentation. These are the models that we want to implement everywhere, and like Dr. Hill said, just please thank your staff and also your leadership as well. When we focus in on and target our kids and improve our knowledge and through professional development and continually looking at the data, that's how we'll move forward. So thank you for all your work, and because it's quite an impressive model for all of our schools, I think, to implement. So thank you. I have a couple of questions for the team, page 13 and 14. Looks like we've invested a lot of money, but we haven't seen very much growth, especially with our African American students. In 2016, 17, they were at 20%, and at 2019, they're at 14.5. Look at the Hispanic, and they've also gone down from 25.9 to 25.6. So it's a rhetorical question. We're investing so much money, so why haven't our scores gone up? That's a rhetorical question. Really want us to look at that, because, I mean, I don't know how many thousands of dollars. There's something that's system-wide that we're not addressing in terms of mathematics, doing it in literacy. So what's the, what are the issues related to mathematics? Then also, I've done a lot of work in grading and so forth, and it appears that on page where we see the grades improving, ninth grade mathematics doesn't correspond to the test data. Are we experiencing grade inflation? Are teachers calibrating, their grading with the test scores? I mean, we have to really begin to look at that. And I'm really concerned too with the 8th grade math, because, 8th grade is indicative of how the kids are going to do in 9th grade. And so they're very low scores. So I'm just raising it rhetorically for all of us. I mean, we have to really dig deep. Why is that happening? Ask the kids. We need to ask. But I mean, I don't know if you do item analysis where the kids are not performing at top level in terms of the standards. I would certainly look at item analysis. Or it means like, where are the kids falling down, in the test? But what are the concepts? What are the functions they're not performing at? I think we have to dig a little deeper and to focus and help our teachers do that. I'm not sure if you're doing that. I'm just raising all of those things that are in my. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions, Dr. Flores.
All right, so with the DRA and when you look at the English tests or the reading assessments, when you look at math, is there anything equivalent that we can do? Because when you look at grades, the ABCs, it doesn't really, there's good test takers, and then there's those that get good grades but don't do so well on tests. And it's the opposite. There's those that has poor grades and yet do very well on tests. So when you look at this as indicators, I don't see this as a reliable source. I don't know if that's something that you have thought about. And is there a test similar to the reading portion that will help us find a more accurate indicator?
So one of the things we have started piloting this year are the benchmarks. We have a complete revised benchmarks which are aligned with the CAASPP. The objective is we will start developing a correlation for over a 3-year period, which will start reflecting towards what would be the CAASPP score. So that is the leading indicator right now that is present for mathematics.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. And then also when you look at the local comparisons with districts for both the ELA and the mathematics, I don't see Fontana on there, and typically we've used Fontana in just seeing where they're at. Is there a reason why they're not on here? And if you do have that information,
We're happy
their
to
scores are where?
Yeah, we're happy to provide that. We can add that in. And you're right, we usually do include Fontana.
But is there a reason why it's not included in this?
Variety of reasons, I'm not sure, but we have it at our hand.
Because we've seen where they were at in previous sectors, and so I'm curious to see where they're at with ours.
I'll provide that information in a BC.
All right, great, thank you. And then also with page 26, following up on what Dr. Hill mentioned, is that 2019, and this is something that we've seen with other school sites. We've seen that at Pacific, we've seen that at other school sites. I'm wondering, how long have you been at the school site?
3 school years now.
3 school years, okay. Because we've seen that with sites that had the principals that are fairly new to that. Yes, and so this is not something new that we've seen, and actually the dip is so similar, you could probably, I'm wondering if you overlap it, that they're going to be exact, close to exact numbers. So I'm wondering, what could we support our new, so for other school sites, what do you recommend that when we have a transition of a new principal on the school site, that this trend doesn't continue to those principals that are coming into the new school sites? And maybe you can provide some suggestions, or even with the school district, so we can better prepare our principals. Because apparently it doesn't seem like we were fully helping you or the other principals that had similar situations. And we want to look at how we can prevent that from happening again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
All
for
right,
your question.
I believe Mr. Gallo and then Dr. White had one more thing.
Yes, thank you. Well, my previous comment on the reclassified students' performance on EL, or the early assessment, which of these early literacy next steps would address the things you mentioned, Keenan, about things that we might do to actually incorporate whatever we're doing differently for our reclassified student population to see those kinds of growths? And
Thank you for that question, Mr. Gallo. So that specifically is not reflected in our next steps here. What we do in cabinet is we have kind of an interdisciplinary planning team led by Dr. Menares, and we're looking at scaling different things, one of which we're finding huge success with foster and homeless youth. We've talked directly about learning from those activities. So what we do in cabinet, looking at superintendent's evaluation, starting from there, looking at the trends that we're having. So what we've committed to in cabinet is to create opportunities for our directors from inner divisions to meet and find mutually beneficial activities, including scaling up some of the practices that we're doing.
are you going to identify then an additional next step that might incorporate some of that?
Let me kick that to Dr. Menares.
Mr. Gallo, so in the first board meeting in February, the board will get an update on the work going on with MTSS, multi-tiered system of supports. We heard Davidson is using the process that we've been piloting last year. Davidson's one of our pilot schools, and that is directly about how do you use data to monitor what the student needs during tier one, so during that first instruction, and then what are you doing about it right away so that children aren't falling through the cracks. And so you'll hear an update on what's going on with MTSS, and I think that board meeting might be February. It's the first board meeting.
Okay, but I'm still seeing like just significant improvements in performance from all of our reclassified, not by various sites.
Ms. Applegate may be able to add some more insight as well.
And I think one thing to point out that's really important to highlight is that these students are really showing mastery in 2 languages. So there's a lot of research out there showing that the brain is more pliable, that students learn better, that their capacity to retain
Davidson?
information is greater.
Davidson? At
No,
Davidson?
just, he's asking about RFIPs in general. So, and as you know, Dr. Flores, there's a lot of research out there that says that students who are mastering 2 languages, because our RFIP students are pretty much at mastery or proficient in 2 languages, that has a lot to do with their performance as well.
In English language arts, because it
In
didn't
math- in
seem
math
to
as
be,
well.
well, I don't know, I noticed the numbers in math, they didn't seem
Yeah. They've traditionally been higher, and they're still,
any
for
better.
RFIPs, are a little bit higher than our overall district averages. So that's another reason why increasing our multilingual programs, we want to expose all of our students to that. So we have English-only students that are now in multilingual programs as well.
Mr. Tillman?
I'm assuming that Davidson is a TSS preschool?
We are now in our 2nd year of not being a TSSP school.
Thank you.
Dr. Flores?
I wanted to just comment on the fact that what you're doing is exactly what we do, what Anna Applegate's for RFIPs. For 4 years, we have a system where we monitor the kids so they don't fall through the cracks. And so, could you comment on that, Ms. Applegate?
Yes, the ALFs at the sites are in charge of receiving the monitoring forms from us, and they have to go through grades, they go through testing, and it's a pretty comprehensive overview of how the kids are doing. And if they're not doing well, then they have to immediately come up with some form of a support plan or an intervention plan at that time, so that we're sure that we're giving the support needed in whichever area it is that they've fallen.
And this goes on for 4 years, correct?
It is now mandated for 4 years.
And how long have we been doing this?
The 4 years is now 2 years implemented, but before that, we were mandated to progress monitor for 2 years.
for
This
2
has
years,
been-
but now we're doing it for 4 years.
Now we're doing it for 4 years.
4 years, so that's really been effective. That's why we see the increases in our scores, because we're monitoring the kids and actually catching them, right? Catching
Yes,
them
there are intervention plans that are put into place together with the teacher, the team. It's part of the MTSS
in
process
both
as well.
ELA and math.
Yes.
That's good. All right, well, thank you so much for a great presentation. Thank you, Dr. Mitchell, and all of you. My only comment, again, is we're going in the right direction. I think that's great, as long as we're not going backwards. We're talking about A's, B's, and C's now, instead of the D's and F focus, which means that they're going away, and so I probably won't have to keep saying it all the time. But we do appreciate it, and as I looked at the presentation, the word that stuck out to me was consistency. And so when we get the consistency going throughout the entire district, then we're all going in the right direction. So thank you all so much for your presentation.
Great work, team. Good job.
We will now move to item 9.1, board member comments. And so we will start with Mrs. Abigail Rosales Medina.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And first of all, I want to say Happy New Year's to everyone. A great start to a 2020. I do have 2 items that I want to speak on, and one is regarding reevaluating our career pathways, looking at the type of career pathways that we currently have in place, and really addressing what the pay looks like, what the risk factor, working conditions, and of course the environmental impacts that those type of jobs are preventing. Here in California, things are changing really quickly when it pertains to environmental sustainability, environmental new laws, when it comes to diesel trucks, the elimination of diesel trucks and so forth. So I really do want to look at and reevaluate the type of career pathways that we have right now, and with the changing times that California is moving towards. Also with that, I also want to look at, in preparations with the sewage plant that's being built across the street from Indian Springs High School, as well as surrounding neighborhoods. I want to look at what are the plans to make sure that the air quality and addressing the smell and so forth, because when I read a couple of articles in other areas where, although the smell wasn't as significant as other areas, the smell was still there. So I'm wondering, what are we preparing for in case that does happen? And then making sure that those impacts are not necessarily harming not only our schools, students who are in our schools or staff that are in our schools, but it's also looking at the neighborhoods within that area, since it is being built, and the implications that can have. So I just want to make sure that we're looking into that as well. Okay? And that's it for me.
My turn?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I want to wish everybody a Happy New Year, and also welcome back our staff and our students this coming Monday. I think it was very, very smart of the Teachers Union to put in a 3-week window, because with the holidays and so forth, I think people need another week to recuperate and also get back steady, to prepare for the rest of the year. And so I just wanted to make that comment. I also want to thank Dr. Pettis for our board correspondence. I really appreciate the work that you and your staff have done in providing us a quarterly update on the mental health. The public can't see it, but it's a multi-tiered system support document that we got. And I really appreciate, I'll hold it up, that we have types of support services, the staff outcomes, and the student outcomes. And that's very, very comprehensive. And in all areas, you have improved. And that's very significant in terms of, when we focus and name strategically in our strategic plan in terms of our well-being. And I know President Rogers and all of us have raised the whole issue of mental health and what we need to do in our district. And it's like many, I'm just going to name them, community engagement plan, our health and wellness safety, our mental health first aid training, our LGBTQ supports, our suicide prevention trainings, our social emotional learning, our wellness pilot schools, our learning communities for school program success, our school implementation of Tier 2 positive behavior interventions and supports of restorative justice interventions through a trauma, social emotional learning development, wellness pilot site, Tier 2 teams, mental health collaborative, wellness pilot sites, mental health therapy, and district crisis intervention theme. It's very thorough, and I commend our cabinet, Dr. Marsden, and also you, Dr. Bettis, for your leadership in providing this, and also your whole staff. I mean, the staff that is doing all this work. It's very commendable, and I just wanted to thank you.
Dr. Hill.
Thank you, Madam President. I also want to say Happy New Year to all. Hope our students.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, I didn't think we would put us in the dark.
It's
Thank
just
you, Mr.
testing out
Pace.
the dimming
That's
feature.
it, your time is up.
My time's up, okay.
It is better, yeah.
But I do want to say Happy New Year. Hope all of you got plenty of rest. You worked hard and you deserved it. That's for all of our staff members, from our part-time rec aides to our full-time cabinet and superintendent. Hope you got the energy to work the second half of the school year. I want to say to our senior students, our high school senior students, now is the time that I hope you take a look and decide if you're going to graduate or not. Don't wait until May, it's too late. Don't wait until April. Actually, you're already too late if you have questions, but at least you still have time to burn the midnight oil and be prepared to graduate on time. The key there is to make sure you communicate with your teachers. Ask them how you're doing. You need to divorce yourself from homework. If you didn't finish your work in the classroom, stay after school. Do it at school where the experts are. So you might want to change how you do things, but it's important that you graduate from high school. There are no other options for you out there. And then I would just want to conclude that with all of us, board, superintendent, and cabinet, as well as those of you in the audience and our listening audience as well, we need to pray for our nation. I was an employee with the Armed Forces Staff College in Norfolk, Virginia during the Vietnam War. So I know what happens during wars, and it's not good. Social media gives us a lot of information. Some of it's facts, some of it's not. I'm just telling you from what I experienced during Vietnam War and the things that were told to us. But we do know our young men are there. I feel really guilty for the number. I went to every graduation that we had last June, and I was so proud of every student who said they were either going in one branch of the military or the other. Congratulated them and said, right on, we are proud of you. And now just to sit here and think some of those young people are over in Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, wherever, is it touches my heart deeply, because it was not the intent to send them to a place where they wouldn't be safe. And we know it's not always safe there, but we just need to pray for them. So let's pray for our country and pray for our military people. Thank you so much.
Dr. Wyatt? Mr. Gallo?
Yep, just want to say Happy New Year, and this is my first time in our new quarters, and pretty neat, yeah, really nice.
Lucky us, lucky us,
Pardon?
lucky us.
Yeah, lucky. What is it, the Michael J. Gallo, what is it? Dr. Margaret Hill? Right, that's great. And well-deserved, I might add. Congratulations, Margaret.
I think you threw him off. Okay, Mr. Tillman.
Just, I know Mr. Pace turned the lights down a little. I like that a lot better.
Yeah, this is how I work.
We should remember where that setting is. Thank you.
All right, excellent. All right, again, I just want to say Happy New Year to everyone. And also, there was a lot of things that have gone on, but most recently and I think Dr. Marsden may acknowledge this as well, but I did get a chance to go and see, and I want to read it properly. We had our teacher, Faith Hurst Belinsky, and she was acknowledged at the county board. The county board recognized Miss Faith Hurst Belinsky, San Bernardino City Unified School District, who was the only teacher in the county that was nationally board certified in 2019. So I had an opportunity to be there with her to receive the award as the county board and Superintendent Alejandre. And it was great to be, in the presence and be recognized for the amazing things that all of our teachers and staff do. But when you get a chance to witness it, I know it's very meaningful, and it's nice to look out and see people that you know, and you were also there too. And it was just an honor. I heard about it. So a little birdie told me, and I was able to take a break and get over there. And then lastly, an announcement, and this would be for the public, that we should be sending out, or you should be receiving soon, an announcement for you to come to the Board of Education. I believe it's on the 22nd. So that will be 2/22/20. Here we'll have a morning session. I'm on to twos. 1/22/20. Here at our Board of Education. We will have a AM and a PM session to hear from our community on input regarding our next superintendent. So we have talked to many community people, have inquired and asked questions. And again, as Dr. Wyatt said earlier, we know that Dr. Marsden is going to be leaving us soon, and we have appreciated every single thing that he has done for us. And now we are on to a new journey, a new time, and so we will be seeking the input of our community at our community forum. So look forward to that announcement that will be coming from the district on behalf of the board. Thank you. All right, we are now moving to, superintendent and staff member comments, right? 9.2? Yes.
Thank you, Madam President. So just a few comments. One, yes, congratulations to Faith Belinsky, National Board Certification. We did want to mention that. That's just a huge accomplishment for our district and for our county. Want to also congratulate Salinas Elementary School being designated a California Distinguished School. Salinas is just one of 19 schools in the county to earn this prestigious state honor. Congratulations to Principal Heather Regalado. Secondly, in its December 27th press release, the National Association of Elementary and Secondary Education Act state program administrators announced that Richardson Prep High Middle School has been named a distinguished school by the California Department of Education, and also one of the 100 schools to receive this nationally recognized designation for exceptional student achievement in 2019. So the CDE School Recognition Program will take place in February 10th. Congratulations to Principal Jenny Page. And then next, I wanted to mention that our district has completed our disproportionality review, prong 2 review, and has demonstrated 100% compliance, and the district is the only large urban school district in the state to to achieve this status. That's a big deal. Compliments to Dr. Rachel Menares and her team. That's to be the only large urban in the state to achieve that status is huge. Dr. Menares, can you explain what that means at Dr. Flores' request about our disproportionality review and 100% compliance?
So, details of it, Dr. Flores, I don't want to say incorrectly. The long and short of it is the state monitors the number of students that we do or don't have identified, and I think this one is on suspension. And so when we are exiting prong 2, that means we've decreased our number of suspensions. For any of our student groups that may have been too high, that's come down significantly. But it's a very positive, and the team's done a lot of work around it.
Correct.
For our large urbans.
For large urban, that's
Very
correct.
uncommon for large urbans to exit.
Thank you, and thank you for your leadership, Dr. Menares. And then finally, just want to, looking forward to the school back at January 13th, and Happy New Year.
We're now at item 10.1, approval of consent calendar.
Okay, I have items to pull. 10.4 and 10.7.
Okay, Karen, we're going to slow down for you. Are those the only ones that we're pulling? Is that, are we, yes.
Those the only ones pulled?
So is it going to show up here, Karen? I don't see. Okay, so, okay, it's on our screen.
What item are you
So we
pulling,
need
Dr.
to-
Flores? 10.16, okay, and board, I'll just ask, are there any others to pull from consent calendar? Okay, thank you.
So it should have showed up to vote right now on your screen. You see it? And it'll say, yes, you voted if it worked in the left corner of your
But
screen.
I noticed that it doesn't show our individual votes on the top.
Now they pulled it, it should show up. Or Karen, are you able to put it back up there? Okay.
I did.
She's gonna try to pull it so we can see. Yes, Dr. Hill is incorrect. Yes. Oh, whoa. Ver. You should have 10.4, 10.7, and 10.16.
You want me to speak on it in the meantime? Okay. So then I pull this item, honestly, with the lead program that they have at Cal State San Bernardino, it's a week long. And I'm proposing that we increase it to 5,000. It's a 5-day program. And it's an all-day program. And not only that, they also offer ethnic studies, which is incorporated within it, which is also helpful for our educators. So I want to have support in increasing this to 5,000.
I second it.
10.4?
This is 10.4 for lead.
For
I
lead,
think
this
Dr.
is a
Flores-
week-long program, and it's an all-day, week-long program, and it offers support for teachers as well. And I believe that we should offer more.
What is the money paying for?
It's the whole,
Students or paying for
it's
employees?
for the conference, and it's a whole week conference, and this is here in San Bernardino. And I helped with the ethnic studies last year.
Who attends the conference though?
We have educators, we have
Community members.
community members, students as well.
Students, and it's to help pay for it so that they can go free. Yeah.
So moved.
Be attending?
Yes, it's a,
Okay, because a lot of the presenters and everybody was outside of Cal State, but what did they ask for?
So they had asked, we had received an email for them to, so there's different areas of sponsorship and they requested 5,000, but we provided 1,000.
She wants to change it.
So they asked for
Yeah,
5,000?
yes, and
How
so-
did we get to 1,000?
Because I think they traditionally have always given, but since there's different sponsorship levels.
Maybe we can ask the deputy superintendent. I mean, if they ask for 5,000, I have no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we may have just given, maybe Dr. Bolker, you might know more, but I think we may have just given what we've given every year. We've done
Right.
this the
They
last 8
asked for more,
years.
yeah.
Well, I'm not certain, I don't recall, but that may be the case.
Yeah, we got the emails.
Okay.
I don't know, I mean, if they ask for 5,000, that's one thing, I don't remember seeing an email, but I was just wondering, how did it go from 1,000 to 5,000 if they didn't ask for it?
Okay,
And we're happy to support that. I mean,
Okay.
It's a great program.
thank you.
okay, so I think there's just a motion,
And I second it.
and you second it? Okay. And Karen, on this one, are we going to be able to vote this through? Okay. It's there, yes.
I touched the far one, yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the,
If you
Did it
spread
go?
the screen with your fingers, you can make it larger.
Oh, there it is.
see it?
Okay.
Okay.
I did touch that.
Okay.
10.7?
Well, then I also pulled that one. The 10.7, I just wanted some clarification.
Oh. Oh, he's off the screen.
You help him, he got logged out.
So just, can we say verbally? Go ahead and say your verbal. Yeah. Yes, he's off the screen. Okay, it's up there. She got it. Okay, Abigail, you were going?
Okay, yes, so 10.7, I just wanted a clarification. There, it's for hiring an interim or consultant with the warehouse manager. So it says consultant shall provide coaching services, coordination, assistance to the interim warehouse manager. So if you can specify what this means and what it's for?
Yes, Ms. Medina. So our manager and assistant manager of the warehouse have both one retired, one resigned. Ms. Love is the only manager over purchasing and warehouse. So she has someone as an interim, but Mr. Carlos has had extensive experience in the district, great leaders. He's going to provide coaching to help him be successful and provide some consulting with Debbie.
Okay, so then this is all internal. This is not where do instruction or anything else, maybe for
This is
a career
business.
pathways. Okay. All right, good. Okay, so moved.
Second.
All right, so we're gonna,
Vote now.
okay, it's been moved and properly second, but we're going to, here, it popped up, there it is. I think Mike is probably going to have to verbally give you.
And if these, I don't know, are these computers? These are computers? These, not just dumb terminals? Maybe we can increase the RAM because it's really, really slow.
All right, 10.16, who pulled that one?
I did.
Okay.
It's just a picky uni edit. Be it resolved that the Board of Education ratify/approves because it says effective January 1st and we're in January 7th.
Okay, so this should be a ratification is what you're?
Ratify and approves. yeah.
Okay,
Ratify/approves.
hey, did we get that? You will, okay.
So moved.
It's been moved. Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Let's vote. And Karen, I'll wait for you. Okay, it should be on your screen. It's not. I think Mike is gonna have to give a verbal again. Mike, you give us a verbal? All right. Okay, it just kind of, it went away. His went away. Okay, we're now at 11.1, correct? All right, personnel report.
As presented.
So moved.
All right, it's been moved and properly second.
Hasn't popped up yet.
No, she has to go back.
Oh, she's over there.
I will not even touch anything. That's 11.1, the personnel report.
It was Dr. Flores and I second it.
It's there. Gives you. Okay, there it is. All right, we are now at item 11.2, adoption of revised board policy 5116.2, admissions policy for Rodriguez Prep Academy, second reading, educational services.
So moved.
It's been moved and properly second, so let's vote. Yeah, oh, there it is. Okay, everybody should have it on their screen. All right, there it is up there. Motion passed. Okay, 11.3, board ongoing initiatives and reports. Been moved in second. Let's vote. Just wait. Not going. We used to do this with the board up there. Remember the other board that is sitting there? Okay. Remember the. It's, yes. You're good. Did you get the, it showed it? Okay. Okay. Top 10.
So moved.
Okay, let's vote. Okay, we're going. It's gonna pop up. There it is.
Only problem is, when you try to look at the document, you can't see it. So,
Oh, it's not coming up.
so really, the system's way too slow.
Okay, we're at,
Unless it's just
Board
set up
follow-up?
for purpose, is one that's just to shut up and vote.
well, so when you clicked on the blue, it won't let you open? The blue won't open, okay.
It'll open,
It just takes a while. Okay, 11.5, board follow-up.
So, second.
Oh, okay. Danny. We got, he was testing you to see. Okay, 11.5, board follow-up. Let's vote. Yes, 11.5. Everybody should vote. Everybody, it should be on your screen.
I just noticed that you can also change it if on the right-hand side, on the
If it's
top, there's a
correct,
red box. So in case you press the wrong one.
We'll confuse you even more, Karen. But we got it. All right, 11.6, future agenda
So
items.
moved.
Moved and properly second. All right, let's vote. Every, all right, motion passes. Okay, we are now at 12, summary of board requests.
Thank you, President Rogers. Board, I have these follow-ups from this evening's meeting. Number one, disaggregate the RFEP data to differentiate between our RFEP students and those with special needs. In terms of that third grade data, disaggregated in terms of stability and mobility rates, as well in terms of students that are at schools for an extended period of time and versus those who move. Provide EL data on the EDL test. Explore funding for the foster. Yeah, EL,
No, bilingual kids.
bilingual kids.
The ELD and the bilingual programs.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. Explore funding to restore the foster youth tutoring program. Do an analysis of the calibration between grades and standardized test scores. Next, I have include Fontana as one of our comparable districts as we have in the past and provide that data in terms of their comparable test scores. Re-examine our career pathways in relation to environmental issues. And then provide or examine the impacts of the sewage treatment plant that will be located across the street from Indian Springs High School. And those are the follow-ups that I have from this evening's meeting.
All right. Okay, we are going to be adjourning. We won't be reporting out, but we will be going back in for a final closed session. All right? So,
Second.
thank you. It's been moved and properly second. Are you going to put it on there, Karen? Okay, we can. We'd probably be faster. Yes, yes. They did. Yes. Okay. Okay.